Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this video. It's me again, Teacher Kent. And today, we are gonna take it easy. It means that we're just gonna review. I won't add new more topics because we're already finished with separation techniques. Now, before I forget, you have homework. I put it in, where did I put it? Class, Google Classroom. Okay, in the Google Classroom. Please do that because I will check that on Saturday next week. Okay, anyway, let's start. We're finished with separation techniques, right? We just need a way to know if you have been listening to Teacher Kent. So we're gonna have an online quiz like we usually do. Don't worry, it's gonna be easy, especially if you listen to me. And we're gonna be reviewing it right again, right now, so that by Friday, you're ready. It's not a problem. Are you ready right now? Let's start, shall we? Separation techniques. Okay, now, first things first. What is a separation technique? It's when you need to separate mixtures. That's it. A separation technique is to separate mixtures. Very easy from the word itself, separation. Am I correct? Now, there are a lot of separation techniques, but before we go into that, okay, before we go into that, we have to know first, what are we trying to separate? Well, we are trying to separate the thing called mixtures, okay? We are separating mixtures. But what is a mixture, class? A mixture is a object or something that is a combination of two or more substances. And what are substances? Substances are the things that are of the same value or the same property or the same thing. Like, for example, coffee. Coffee is a mixture. However, it is made when you combine water, coffee beans, and sugar. That is a mixture. The substances there are the water, the sugar, and the coffee itself. Do you understand now? It's very easy, right? It's easy for you because we already talked about this. This is gonna be easy, class. Okay, first things first, separation technique. The basic separation technique we have is what we call picking, okay? Picking. We are going to pick. We are going to use our fingers to pick things. Like in the examples here, let's say that I am allergic to peanuts, but I like pistachio. So what do I do? When I am given a bowl of nuts, I use my finger. I pick. I pick the pistachio nuts. Okay? It's that easy. I use my finger. That's the first separation technique. We know this even before we had class. You know this, you started knowing this even when you were still a baby. It's the same when you find a small shell and you want to get that shell when you go on a vacation. So you use your hands and you pick the shell that you want. However, as good as our hands are, class, it's not the best to separate other mixtures, especially what? Especially liquids, because as good as our hands are at holding and picking stuff up, it's hard to actually separate liquids. So that's why we found a way. And that's the separation technique. It's very, very easy. Now, let's continue. The first is the picking. Let's go to the second separation technique. It's called sifting. Again, it's called sifting. It's when you tap or you use something called a sieve, okay? Or some people call it sieving, but the proper one that is found in your book is called sifting, okay? Sifting. It uses a sieve. It separates solids, class, okay? It separates solids. Like my example, when there is a chef and the chef wants to cook, okay? The chef wants to cook a cake. Now, he needs flour. But some flour, class, not the flour, the plant, but the flour used in cooking, okay? Some flours are hard. They are not very coarse like this one. So what do? You use a sieve. You let the flour pull on top of the sieve, okay? And then you shake it a bit. You shake it or you slap it, you hit it on the back or the side so that a lot of small flour will cool down. And the big flowers that cannot pass through that area, that's what you separate. It's also the same thing with gold. Remember the video I showed you last time? They use a sifter and water to separate gold and soil, because sometimes soil is in soil. No, not sometimes, but gold is found in soil. And you need to separate soil from gold. And you cannot separate it using your hands. So you need a sieve. Sifting. That's number 2. How about number 3? Separation by magnets. Okay. You separate solids using magnets. Okay. It's useful for separating substances that are attracted to magnets from substances that are not attracted to magnets. Now, I understand. You can use your hands to separate metal things from non-metal things. It's true. However, we have something that we call rust, okay? Rust. Rust is a very dangerous thing. It usually grows or is created on solids or metals that is hit by water. And rust makes the metal very hard, and if you try and touch it, you might get cut. Now, when you get cut by rust, there is a disease called tetanus. So for people to be safe, we use magnets to separate the metal from the non-metals. Now, separation by magnets is a way to separate what? Solid from another solid, especially metals, because metals, class, they are hard to make. They're very hard to make. Like my phone, if I need to throw away my phone, it has a lot of metal. And how do they recycle the metal? They use magnets. That's right. Separation by magnets. Electromagnets are sometimes used. Now, separation by magnets, that's not the only thing. What about big things like a car? Remember, a car. If your car is broken and you decided that I don't need it anymore, I cannot fix it, I'll buy a new car because I'm rich. Well, you throw it in the garbage, right? And in the garbage, some parts of the car are metal. They use an electromagnet to get the car because you cannot carry the car, class. You're not Superman. They use an electromagnet to actually get all the metal parts of the car. Separation technique number 3. Separation by magnets. Separation technique number 4. Now, 1 and 2 and 3 used to separate solid from solid. Separation technique number 4, decantation. It's to separate solid from liquid. Very easy. It's the simplest technique to separate a liquid from a solid from an insoluble liquid. Now, what does this mean? When we want to separate something that is on water or in a cup, what do we do, class? If there's a candy that fell on your water cup, what will you do to get the candy? And you don't want to get wet. You pour it, right? You pour the water until the candy is the only thing that's left in the container. That is decantation. You simply pour the liquid from one cup to another so that the solid will remain in the cup and the liquid will go to another cup. That's it. Decantation. Very easy, chamay. It's the same thing if you like to make tea. You see, tea has tea leaves or tea bags, okay? You put the tea bag there, you put hot water, the tea combines with the hot water to make hot tea. Now, sometimes other people, they know that you can use the tea bags 2 or 3 times more. So what do? They pour the hot tea into another container so that the tea bag will be the only thing that is left. And then they use the tea bag again. That technique is called decantation. How to separate solid that is inside a liquid. Very, very easy. Do you understand? Am I talking too fast? If I am, you can just slow it down, okay? Separation technique. Number 5, filtration. It's to separate insoluble solids from a liquid mixture using a filter. Now, the first one is separate solid from liquid. It's the same thing here, except you need a filter because some things you cannot just decantate. When you try to decantate or to pour a mixture that has pure coffee, you just pour all of it. You pour the mixture, but if you want to separate it, you need to filter it out. Let's say, for example, you put some sand in your water and you mixed it up. When you try to decantate it, the sand will also be carried by the water. So how do you separate the sand from the water? You use filtration. And how do you use filtration? You let it pass through a filter. A filter is something that will absorb the things that are not liquid. Like in this example, a funnel. This example in the picture, the water is mixed with the sand. You put it in a funnel, you put the water down, poof. The funnel will get most of the sand. That's it. You separate the water from the sand. Very, very easy. Filtration. Okay, separating solid that is harder to separate in decantation from liquid. That is filtration. And you need to put a filter. That's why it's called filtration. It needs a filter. Now, what is left, what is absorbed by the filter is called the residue. Okay, remember that. What is absorbed by the filter in filtration is called the residue. And the water that passes through it, those are called the filtrate. Okay, those are called the filtrate. Precipitation. This is the last one in your book. It's how we separate solids from solids. Okay, how we separate liquids from liquids. Sometimes, class, two liquids are mixed together. Especially in science, when you go to higher levels, you will have many more experiments. When you experiment on higher level, you will try and separate two different substances in a single water or in a single liquid. So how do you do it? You add something called a substance or a solution or a suspension. Now, when you add this thing, it will make all the atoms, the little parts of the thing that you want to separate, go closer together. It's like there's a magnet, but it's not a magnet. It's more of a substance. It gets everything closer together so that it separates itself. The bottom, like in the example, the precipitate, that's the one that you are separating. And the supernate is the one that's many. Precipitate is the one that you're trying to separate. And when that happens, it will just be an easy way of decantation then, because it will move to another place while the other one that you separated will not move anymore. And that's it. That's our test. That's our quiz. That's our last topic for that unit, I mean. What are the filtration techniques that I talked about? 1, picking. 2, what is number 2? Separation by magnets. Number 3, sifting. Number 4, what is number 4? Filtration, okay? Filtration. Number 5, decantation. And number 6, precipitation. That's it. That's the only thing you need to study. And you should study. We have a quiz this coming Friday. But that's it for today, class. I hope you listened and I hope you will study for this Friday. Bye.